This is a laptop computer from 1990 or 1991. Laptop, you say? Well, this is a Compaq LTE 38620 and it's docked in its docking station. I got this more or less for free. Also got the PSU here, and the thing is magnificent, and it looks like this lower unit here is a standalone computer desktop. It has the same design, but looking at the sides, it gets taller in the back and has this plastic cover on the top, which is strong enough to hold a CRT monitor, so you could do your desktop applications and everything on a CRT with colors and what have you. Or you could just pop this off. I mean, look how rigid this is. And if you did so, let's see if we can open here. You could use the laptop as is in its dock, or maybe you want to get out of there, go home or out in the field, and you slide this puppy out. This is the computer, and it's quite handy. It's, you know, not that big, being some late 80s, early 90s tech. Got these reduced sized keys, keyboard. Not really pleasant to click, I mean type. They say click, but it's like, it's not mechanical. There is, however, just one problem with this machine. It doesn't power on. And silly as it sounds, I've tried everything. I've tried the original power supply. It works, it lights up, it feeds the 30 volts. Yeah, 30 volts that the computer's supposed to have. I've even tried to power up with this adjustable power supply here. It goes up to 30 volts and feeds 3 amps, no problem. There's no response from the computer. Now it's docked in its docking station and it's powered off, but you can see that the power light is actually blinking here. I'm not really sure if that's an indication of something is totally wrong with this, like a short circuit or something. So it will power on. The docking, you can hear it spin. There's a fan in there, but just no response from the computer itself. None of the LEDs are powering up or giving any indication of anything being wrong with it. Same thing happens when I plug in the power supply, of course, and it just goes back to this blinking state. Well, until I eject. Of course, I disconnect the docking port in the back, which would be this big guy here. So the only thing missing from this puzzle is, of course, the old battery pack. It's just gone. I never received it when I got the computer. It's empty. So this docking unit, however, it looks like the cutest tiny little desktop computer that never happened or never existed. It's got the, you know, full-size 5¼ inch expansion bay here and a lower height one up here. I'm just guessing here that you can have a 3½ inch floppy with some adapters. But I think overall this box, it looks cool, and it's quite weird because it's got this hump in the back, so it's really this tall. You got these plastic guides here to slide the computer in, and in the back the half of it is just a power supply, a big one. And you can also add ISO cards, 16-bit ISO cards in here, 2 of them. Looks like a network adapter already is installed. You got the ports from the computer, it's just being replicated. VGA, printer, keyboard, mouse, and the COM port. Also, you got this rocker switch between A and B. I'm not sure exactly what that does, but let's put a B, so I'll just leave it there. It might have something to do with the, you know, the floppy that you install to this box. So that's the B drive, and then you had the A drive on the laptop itself. So that would be the power supply supplying power. It lights up the green light. This orange light would be charging the battery. That is not indicated because it's not a battery to charge. It's plugged in right here. You see that the power switch is, you know, on, but of course nothing happens. can try and turn it off and turn it on again. There's just absolutely nothing. So we're peeking in the side of the laptop here. We have an expansion bay. You can insert like memory cards like these guys. There's a 2 meg memory card. I'm not sure if this is MCIA standard. I doubt it. I got this 2 meg. I got actually 3 of these. These are 4 megs. I got a whole bunch of them. So you can like add up to 8 megabytes using these in here, and you expand up to 10 megabytes because it got 2 megabyte memory on the motherboard. So that would be really nice if I could use some of those. I managed to score a whole bunch of spare parts for this PC. Here, for instance, is this is the whole thing. This is the motherboard assembly going into the computer. It's really cramped and miniature, because that's how they made the computer being so small back in, I don't know, 1990. You have the expansion base, just like on this one. The motherboard is 2 PCBs sandwiched together, and they hold all these chips. Everything is built together like this. These cables, these ribbon cables, come out from the center of the PCBs, so you can't switch them out or do anything about them. They seem to be solid enough to fool around with, like I'm doing. This is the connector for the hard drive. Same 44 pin as they used all until the mid-noughties when Serial 88 took over. Here is the power supply, the internal one. It distributes the battery power and the incoming power from the back. Yeah, that one. And you have the gold connector here is the positive lead, and the negative lead for the battery would go right here. It also goes into the chassis itself. This is the battery. I managed to pause the video so I can barely see it. It says 19.2 volts nominal, 1.7 amp hours. I think that is 19.2, not 18.2 volts. This is it. This is the battery for the computer that I'm looking for. So thank you very much, Mega Retro 21, for posting this. That's what I'll try next. So I tuned my power supply into 19.3 volts, 19.2 thereabout. I left the amps on the maximum, so there's no limitations there. And I'm hooked up to the battery terminals like it should. And say if this was a fully functional computer, the battery had a full, 19.2 volts, fully charged, it should power on. So let's see what happens. Yeah, still nothing, still the same. I did hear, let's try that again. It's off, and I'm switching on in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, there was a little boost in the amp there. Once again, yeah, it's like it tries to power on, and then it finds that something is very wrong, and just shuts down again. So maybe that indicates that it's not necessarily the battery that's missing that is your problem. It could be something else, really. This is the power distributor, power supply, the internal one. What if there's something wrong with both of these? I mean, this unit and in the laptop, they have the same fault, the same weakness, and they both suffer the same damage, per se. There are at least 4 big capacitors here, and although they look fine, I'm not sure if they are fine. Yeah, they must have suffered a lot of heat, really. They're just blocked into this thing in the middle of the laptop with no cooling or ventilation. I'm not sure if the transformer here could be broken. Anything here can be broken. I have no idea. I have no way of telling. I could check that the pins here on the power distributor's connector goes directly to the second pin from the right here. This is the hard drive connector, of course. So that supplies 5 volts on those exact pins, and I can measure exactly that came from this guy. So I know we have the 5 volts identified, we have the ground identified. These last 2 pins as a group, it could be a higher voltage for the LCD or the backlight. It could also be just the 30 volts coming from the charger into the power brick here, and I wouldn't need that. Hopefully by connecting just 5 volts in the negative to this connector on the motherboard assembly could power up this unit, and that will tell me for sure that I have 2 broken power distributors. Alright, so the pins would fit perfectly into the connector here, and they have these kind of hooks that it's easy to bend and fit in a wire, so it's all contact. It looks a little shoddy, but I've isolated the positive and the negative with some tape in the middle here. We're gonna charge this with 5 volts directly. I want the switch to be on just in case, and figure I want to share this moment with you, so I'm ready to switch on here. And 3, 2, 1. Well, that's interesting. The buzzer here is buzzing. Can I switch it off? No action there. Well, it's a step further ahead. I figured it was worth a shot opening this docking unit just to check out if there's additional voltages that the computer needs. I know that this connector is capable of delivering 30 volts to charge the battery, but maybe it also gives out 5 and what have you, other voltages, 12 volt maybe. Maybe I can use that to find what I'm missing out here. I'm just gonna remove these 2 screws and 3 screws in the back. Just slides off like your average desktop computer, like so. Yeah, expansions down here on the riser. There are some jumper settings here. There's a lot of stuff going through one connector. It's a triple decker really. And half a ton of screws later I found that the PSU doesn't come out as a unit. You have to just open it like so, and dang, this is also a double decker. Okay, so I fooled around with this thing a little, and whenever I plug the power in here, I notice that this green LED is lighting up, and I can measure 30 volts on the plug here. And I believe this is actually the same thing as the power brick. In fact, you can see the LEDs are in the same place. It does the exact same thing. It has a 3-pin connector. So this upper deck is definitely the 30 volt charging power, while the lower floor here, the main floor, that is the ordinary power supply, the one that you actually switch on and off with a switch here. And it is connected to the back plane, which is this thing. A lot of connectors like you have inside of, desktop PC. And some of it goes out to this connector for the floppy drives you could mount. And by looking at the colors here, they're a little off, but they're connected to a hard drive. You can see that the purple, that is the 12 volt connector. So if I think just trying to measure the 12 volt here, if it goes via this board to any of the pins on this connector, this is what goes into the laptop. And if I can find that, I can trace it within the laptop motherboard and see if it needs 12 volts for something and maybe power it up. Yep, I found a 12 volt pin. Okay, so I've measured all these pins here. Looks like it's got 5 volts, 12 volts, nothing else. It's just this third pin that's 12, and it only goes to the Molex connector. Ta-da! Nothing else really. It doesn't go up to the replicator on the laptop connector. And that means that this connector here only carries the 30 volts you need to charge the battery. The computer is distributing the power to all its devices. This does not do that, so I guess I'm stuck here. So this experiment is getting more and more grotesque here. Just a proof of concept that there is no power going through this connector here to the laptop motherboard. Okay, I removed the 30 volt pin here, so there's no 30 volts coming in at all. The power distributor is gone, so if there is 5, 12 or any other voltages coming in, it should turn on, but of course, same result, the fan spins, it's feeding power. There's no action on the LEDs. It's all the same really, so no biggie there. Well, it seems I'm pretty much stuck at this point. I don't really know what to do next. There is definitely something wrong with the system board. I believe that the power distributor is doing its job just fine. Whenever I try to put power into the motherboard, it says, no, stop, something is wrong. And, well, what have you. It might be a short somewhere. So I just went ahead and tried to measure stuff I know what is, like these capacitors, but you can hear the ohm meters giving a little beep. Maybe not there, but let's check this one out. Okay, it's difficult to hear, but it goes to like 0 and it's raising rapidly, so it's charging up the capacitor like it should. I mean, none of these are shorting out and beeping like there's a short going through. Well, I'll just have to disassemble the entire laptop and see what it gets me. So I think I will start in the back by just sliding open this door here and taking out all of these screws. Yep, no screw. I will unscrew all of these. Yep. Oop, another hatch. And there's a hole in there as well. Let's see. A little stiffy on the other side there, so doesn't take much, just a little bit of helping these guide pins. Okay, so there it is. Probably time to remove these ribbon cables. A little push here. Poppity pop. Comes out. This is probably the screen, the LCD from that one. Thing lives here. Whoa! Yeah, that should be it. And it looks like exactly the same motherboard. The power switch is white. I don't know why. PSU or the distributor looks just fine, like the other one does. Oh, it's got the 387 upgrade here, the coprocessor. So what I was aiming at here was just replacing the power distributor with the other one that I got here. Still removed the heat spreader, but it's, if the power's on, I'm not gonna like have it powered for hours. I'm just gonna test it. Should be fine. Cute little hard drive there. Off she goes. Should be safe and sound. PSU, where are you? PSU goes in. power switch goes on and AC power goes in. Same result as ever. Oh, even the CMOS battery seems to be in working order. 3.27 volts in there. So that can't be the error. So I got an idea. What if both of these computers suffered the same fate, where they were intended to be used with a battery pack installed at all time, and when that finally died of age and wear and tear, they would be popped out and you would only use the power supply, the power brick, and without any resistance for the distributor here, the whole system would be overvolted per se and probably kill it off given enough time. So I'm just guessing here that that might be the case of both these PCs. They suffer the same destructive fate of having the battery pack die. I guess I'm stuck with this, and if both these motherboards are fried, it's no good, it's no help. Got any ideas, any comments you want to share, please do so. Write it down here for me to check out. Maybe there's something I'm overseeing here. Maybe there's just a little detail that I'm missing out. Something silly, something stupid. I would love this computer to come back to life, but as of now, it looks like it's totally dead. Both of these guys. So that will be all for now. I'm just gonna put this back together and leave it there, and we'll see if it's trash or treasure.